Flagrant. My opinion on the annual Martin Luther King Jr. celebrative march on Washington, D.C. by Flagrant Anthony on Tuesday, August 20, 2013 at 9:46 p.m. My opinion on the annual Martin Luther King Jr. celebrative march on Washington, D.C. by Flagrant Anthony. In my opinion, mindless Negroes marching on Washington, D.C. celebrating the legitimate efforts of Dr. King to fight against racism and oppression of black people that existed in his lifetime is a waste of time and disservice to the life of Dr. King. Dr. King's march on Washington, D.C. in the 1960s was not a commemorative march in celebration of the Emancipation of Proclamation or any other past event. Martin Luther King Jr. March on Washington, D.C. was an event used by King to fight the current-day existence of racism that was manifesting in his lifetime. King confronted the white racists of his day. King did not bow down and take payoffs from white businesses and white companies to compromise his efforts to confront and condemn racism in America. These celebration marches are not confronting racist men and racist systems that exist today, again. That exists today. Dr. King's march was not a march of cowards who were afraid to confront and address the day-to-day application of racism in America and afraid of offending white people. This march is insulting to the legacy of King. A march being led by black men who are being paid by the very racist institutions of racism that King fought against. Unlike the march on Washington, D.C. led by King, these annual celebration marches do absolutely nothing for black people in America, and occur only with the consent of a white power structure that approve of pet Negroes assigned as leaders of the black community. King did not die so black Americans every year could celebrate in delusion that a dream has come true. King and Malcolm X are shouting from their grave for black people to stop marching in vain. Wake up. Stop sleepwalking. Stop sleep marching. Start thinking and stop following fools who work for your enemies. Stop spending your money to travel to Washington, D.C. then go home broker than when you came to D.C. You go home with no increased knowledge and nothing created for the betterment of black people. King got the Civil Rights Act pasted as a result of his march. 50 years later and 50 marches later, one march every year, and what have silly Negroes produced as a result of each of these 50 marches? Zero, nothing. The only thing produced was the ego of one more black man who wants to be important. Stop acting like slaves just released from the plantation and start acting like your ancestors who created Western civilization and ruled the world for thousands of years. You Negroes that are inspired enough to spend at least $1,000 on a trip to D.C. to have your emotions tickled should donate that money to a cause that would benefit black Americans. If 1 million marchers refused to march on Washington and refused to travel to D.C. and instead donated $1,000 each to a designated National African American Fund controlled and managed by a board composed of a cross-section of black leaders, you would generate $10 million each year. 10 years equals 100 million. However, this could be accelerated. There are 40 million blacks in America. If 10% of the black population, i.e. 4 million black people, gave $1,000 each, you would raise 40 million per year. Accelerate this even more. If 20 million Negroes gave $1 per month for 1 year, you would have $242 million per year, with no financial strain on anyone. What if all 40 million African Americans returned to a sane mindset once embraced by their ancestors and gave $1 each per month? That amounts to a total of $12 per year per person. What if wealthy blacks gave $50 per month? You would have billions of dollars available to black people from black people for the sole benefit of black children and black families. So simple. These monies could be used to improve black colleges, HBCUs, neighborhood schools, develop black neighborhoods, scholarship programs, training programs. $242 million each year, times 50 years have been lost. Equals how many billions and trillions of dollars lost? This type of financial giving and contribution is taking place today by black people, but it is occurring in the black church where the black preachers are spending the billions of black donations on personal jet airplanes, multi-million-dollar houses, fleets of personal cars, $10,000 shoes, etc. At the same time, the congregation members live in poverty and the preacher tells them to look to God for their financial relief as the preacher looks to the congregation for his financial relief. Nothing spiritual about tithes and offerings. Time to tell the preacher to take his own financial advice and look to God, not the congregation, for his financial relief. Time for the preacher to get as spiritual as his congregation when it comes to financial prosperity. So much time and wealth lost by niggers just partying, and a nation gone unbuilt because white master did not approve of black people making efforts to help themselves. Remember Black Wall Street? Why does the white power structure not view the black prosperity church as a financial threat? Think Negro. Without economic strength, black Americans will always be just beggars to politicians. Only those who control the gold own and control politicians. Only those who have control of the wealth, gold, money, jobs. Only those who control the economy, i.e. big business, control the agenda and mindset of politicians. You penniless Negroes just look like fools and silly monkeys marching on Washington, D.C. demanding something you already have but are too stupid and cowardly to use. What is it you have? Spending power, that is, money. Each Negro has at least $1 per month to contribute toward a black national fund to be used for the benefit of black people. Unlike white people, your problem is, you have been brainwashed to believe you are an American, whatever that is. Whatever it is, it surely is not a nationality that any group of people can say is their ancestral heritage. Black Americans do not identify themselves with the nationality of people like white Americans and every other people throughout the world do. Why? See Psalms 83. People such as Irish, German, Poland, Spanish, etc. identify with their specific nationality. A nationality is not a country, as has been suggested to ignorant slaves and their descendants. Stop being played the fool, black people. Contemporary black Americans are descendants of conditioned slaves who think they are just Americans and see no need to work toward the betterment of their people. On the contrary, white people, regardless of their ethnic group, have always worked together for the demise of black people as a group. There is no delusion amongst white people when it comes to passing laws and building a culture that promotes white power and white supremacy. The political construct of America, its intended political and economic beneficiaries, and the propaganda that it is the land of the free, has nothing to do with the myth feed to Negroes that they too are a people called Americans, composed of all different types of people, languages, cultures, and colors that all see themselves as Americans first. From the U.S. Supreme Court to state legislatures and Jim Crow laws, white Europeans enact and interpret laws to oppress and continue the enslavement of black people. These American Jim Crow laws repudiate the myth of the black or African American citizen. While Negroes may be delusional about their identity, white Americans have no delusion about black people being a distinct group of people who pose a threat to their existence based solely on the color of their skin. You were not enslaved because you were Americans, only because your skin was black. Black Americans are not Irish, German, Polish, French, or Spanish, even though they may speak the language. So what nationality are you, black man? Unlike silly Negroes inside America, white Americans know who they are and work together for the betterment of their white ethnic communities, but you black men have no idea of your identity. Sadly, you do not care about your national identity and who your ancestors truly are. Without any sense of nationality or ancestral heritage, black people cannot relate to history and are unable to fit themselves in history. As a consequence, brainwashed black Americans see no need to work together for the common benefit of black Americans. They see themselves as individuals, selfishly working toward their own individual prosperity. It's time to replace the slave mindset your ancestors passed down to you. Start working toward black economic stability, like Marcus Garvey did. Working toward economic stability for Black Americans is not anti-American or racist as white opponents often say. White people see Black people working towards the stability of Black people. They do not see you working towards the economic stability of America. They see you as a threat to their very existence. Unlike you, they not only understand and respect the ingenious of your physical abilities but your mental capabilities. Remember Black Wall Street. Most Black Americans never even heard of Black Wall Street. Stop acting like fools, Black Americans. Every white ethnic group in America works towards the economic prosperity of their ethnic group without being classified as racist. The efforts of white ethnic groups are designated as rich cultural developments. Somebody wake up Al Sharpton and other designated Black leaders. Stop marching and start building, and leave the church out of this building project. This is for the people, not the preacher. 1. Share. Like, comment, share. Write a comment. Deception in America. Docs in deception in America.
Click on the icon.
Recent changes. Lagrant Anthony.
Good night.
Created about 5